Northern Ireland's Footballing Greats presents Norn Ireland's all-time 11s. In 1983 it was announced that the Football League would have a new team for the following season, to be called Thames Valley Royals Football Club. The new club would come about through the amalgamation of existing third division clubs Oxford United, who had been founded as Headington FC in 1893, and Reading, founded in 1871. Thames Valley were to initially alternate between Oxford's Manor Ground and Reading's Elm Park, before building a new stadium somewhere between the two settlements, with Didcot suggested as the new host town. The reason given for the proposed merger was that the two existing clubs, with their comparatively meagre fan bases, would be dead by the following season, and that by pooling resources the region could have a club capable of playing at a higher level. To the joy of the fans of both clubs, the merger fell through before the 1982-83 season had even ended. So who was responsible for this ill-fated plan? It was none other than Czech-British war hero, media mogul, politician, and later to be acknowledged fraudster, Robert Maxwell. Maxwell's involvement in this story had begun in 1982 when he rescued Oxford from bankruptcy. He also bought a 19% stake in Reading, which he hoped would prove enough leverage to force through the proposed merger, but when his creative accounting came to light it scuppered the move. Maxwell would later attempt to buy Manchester United before taking over Derby County, where he became chairman with son Kevin taking the chair at Oxford. An attempt to purchase Watford was then blocked when the Football League brought in rules limiting individuals' ownership of multiple clubs. Of further interest to football fans was Maxwell's near destruction of the Panini Sticker Company. Panini's football stickers had been given away with the Daily Mirror for many years, but following a tug-of-war with rival paper, The Sun, Maxwell decided to publish his own album. In 1988 he bought out Panini itself and nearly ran the firm into the ground. The annual albums lost their official endorsement from the Football League, and the drop in quality allowed for the emergence of Merlin as the leading sticker company for the 1990s. It took decades for Panini to rebuild their portfolio. Ultimately, as if to further prove the folly of Maxwell's Thames Valley Royals idea, Oxford went on to play in the First Division from 1985 to 1988, and won the Milk Cup in 1986. Reading won the CMOD Cup in 1988 but had to wait until 2006 to play top-flight football. Robert Maxwell was still chairman of Derby County at the time of his mysterious drowning in 1991, but even in death, he and his family have seldom been far away from scandals in the decades since. So, allow us the conceit of presenting an all-time Thames Valley Royals 11 made up of Northern Ireland internationals to have featured for Oxford United and Reading. Goalkeeper Paul Key, Oxford United. An established Irish League goalkeeper with Ards at just 17, Key commanded a fee of £15,000 when transferred to Oxford in 1988. He made his debut in a 1-0 second division defeat at Middlesbrough in November 1989, and played 21 games in that campaign. In March 1990 he was awarded his first cap against Norway. Over the next year he seemed to be beating Tommy Wright in the battle to be Northern Ireland's regular number one, but then fell down the pecking order for club and country. He had several loan spells away from Oxford, including to Reading and back at Ards, before being released at the end of the 93-94 season. Shortly after his return to Castlereagh Park he returned to international football, due to injuries to Wright and Alan Fettis, but a 4-0 defeat by the Republic of Ireland in November 1994 brought the final curtain down on his Northern Ireland career. He spent a decade in the Irish League with Ards, Bangor, Carrick and Crusaders, as well as displacing Westlife's Nicky Byrne at Cove Ramblers. He has also worked as coach for Bohemians, Glentoran, Bangor, Brantwood and Greenwell Star. He is currently employed as a security guard at Stormont, while also coaching back at Ards. Right back, Chris Baird, Reading. In the summer of 2013, 31-year-old Chris Baird was released by Fulham, having played 127 Premier League matches over 6 seasons. When the new season kicked off he was still clubless, but Northern Ireland boss Michael O'Neill was content to give him his 62nd cap against Portugal. Even though he was a free agent, he joined Championship Reading on 20th of September on a short-term deal, and he was a regular in defence through to November. during which time he played in international matches against Israel and Turkey. Baird injured his ankle in a 0-0 draw at Blackburn on the 23rd of November, ruling him out for the Christmas period. Come January, his contract wasn't renewed, and he again found himself clubless until signed by Burnley in March. Baird played 7 times as the Clarets were promoted to the Premier League as runners-up, though he decided instead to join the Northern Ireland contingent at West Brom. He remained a Northern Ireland regular through to Euro 2016 and retired in 2018 after 3 seasons at Derby County, where he was also captain for a time. Across his 17-year senior career, he won 79 caps and won runners-up medals in the FA Cup with Southampton in 2003 and in the Europa League with Fulham in 2010. Left-back Pat McConnell, Reading. Born in Corballis, North Dublin in 1902, William McConnell's family moved to Slough when he was 4. He helped Slough Town to win the Berks and Bucks Senior Cup in 1920 and drew the attentions of Arsenal and Charlton Athletic. A strong and finely built player, he eventually made the short move to Reading, establishing himself as regular left-back for the 1924-25 season. Despite playing at the comparatively low level of Division 3 South, the selectors took note of McConnell's talents, and he represented the professionals of the South against the amateurs of the South, and was capped by Ireland for the first time in April 1925, less than 8 months after his league debut. Over the next 3 seasons he was selected for every Ireland panel, and even though injury and club commitments cost him 2 caps, his tally of 8 remained a Reading record for 60 years. He was a regular as the Division 3 South title was claimed in 1926, and again the following season, as Reading reached the FA Cup semi-final for the first time. It would be 89 years before they reached that stage again. In April 1927 he scored his only league goal in a 2-1 win over Middlesbrough, but collected an injury in the process. That injury greatly hampered him, and after battling through for another year he retired from the professional game. He qualified as a Football League linesman and played cricket for Berkshire. Away from sport, he ran a pub in Reading, then a newsagent's in Slough. Central defender Barry Hunter, Reading. Member of a footballing dynasty, Barry Hunter's father Vic and uncles Alan and Yam McFowle were all international footballers. Barry played under Vic and Yam at Coleraine before making his name as a strong centre-back with Crusaders. He joined Wrexham in 1993 for £50,000 and won the Welsh Cup in 1995, the final season in which clubs from the English League were permitted to enter the competition. It was while with Wrexham that Hunter established himself in the Northern Ireland team, where he played alongside Reading's joint player boss Jimmy Quinn, who saw enough to decide Hunter was worth a £400,000 fee in 1996. In March 1997, Hunter suffered a major knee injury that would see him sidelined for almost 2 years. He returned to the field during a brief loan spell with Southend in February 1999 and returned to the Northern Ireland team in April. Never quite able to return to his previous levels, he was released by Reading in 2001 and spent 5 seasons at Rushden and Diamonds, where he was also player-manager. He spent a couple of months with Portadown in 2006 and has since coached or scouted for Swindon, Blackburn, Norwich and Manchester City, and he is currently head of scouting for Liverpool. Central defender Kieran Brown, Oxford United. London-born defender Brown came through non-league football before signing for Cardiff City in 2018. Shortly before his 20th birthday, he impressed during 2 loan spells with Livingston, coming to the attentions of the Northern Ireland management due to his Belfast-born mother, and he made a surprise debut in a 1-0 friendly win over Luxembourg in September 2019. By the time Brown joined Oxford in January 2022, initially on loan, he had won 7 caps and played 17 games for the Bluebirds. Capable at left back or in the centre of defence, Brown's long throw is also a potent attacking threat. Voted Player of the Year by Oxford supporters in 2023, with 16 of his 23 caps won while at the Kassam Stadium, he is just short of becoming the club's most capped ever player. Midfielder Jim Magilton, Oxford United. In March 1985, aged just 15, Jim Magilton made his Irish League debut for Distillery. He joined Liverpool as an apprentice in 1986, although he impressed in the Anfield reserves, becoming captain, earning a place on the bench for the 1990 Charity Shield, Northern Ireland under-21 and under-23 caps, and a place in the senior squad. He did have ambitions to play regular football, and saw a stream of internationals ahead of him in the pecking order. Kenny Dalglish slapped a £600,000 fee on Magilton, and second division Oxford gladly paid it. He proved a reliable goalscorer from midfield, with his range of passing elevating those around him. His final appearance in yellow was an FA Cup win over Leeds, and it was perhaps no surprise that Oxford suffered relegation shortly after his £1.6 million move to Southampton. He also played Premier League football with Sheffield Wednesday and Ipswich Town, where he hung up his boots in 2006. He played 676 games and scored 82 goals across his 21-year career. He has had a lengthy managerial and coaching career with Ipswich, QPR, Melbourne City, the Irish FA, and he is currently in charge of Cliftonville. Midfielder Ollie Norwood, Reading. Burnley-born Ollie Norwood won England youth caps while coming through the ranks at Manchester United. Although he never played a first-team match for United, by the time he left Old Trafford, he'd served Carlisle, Scunthorpe and Coventry on loan and collected 6 senior caps for Northern Ireland. A busy playmaking midfielder, despite his noted dead ball skills, he never actually managed a goal in his 57 Northern Ireland appearances, but will always be remembered for the free kick that he delivered onto Gareth McCauley's head in a famous Euro 2016 win over Ukraine. He joined Reading for a significant but undisclosed fee in 2014 after 2 seasons as a Championship regular for Huddersfield. Reading was struggling to rebuild after relegation from the Premier League in 2013, but a rare highlight was their run to the FA Cup semi-final in 2015, where they lost to Arsenal in extra time, though Norwood was an unused substitute. In 2016, Norwood moved on to Brighton, but after helping them to promotion to the Premier League in 2017, he was sent back to the Championship on loan to Fulham. Fulham then gained promotion, but again Norwood stayed in the Championship, joining Sheffield United. A third successive promotion campaign finally allowed Norwood to play in the Premier League with the Blades. His promotion prompted Norwood to call time on his Northern Ireland career, citing fatigue. At the age of 28, he spent 6 seasons at Bramall Lane and is currently a Stockport County player. Winger Gavin White, Oxford United. Pacey goal-scoring winger, White made waves with Crusaders, where he won 3 Irish League titles, the Ulster Footballer of the Year award, Northern Ireland under-21 caps, and a place in the senior squad that travelled to Central America in the summer of 2018. Shortly after his return from international duty, he moved to Oxford and quickly made an impact, scoring on his first start in a 2-0 League Cup win over Coventry. His impact at international level was even quicker, as it took him just 108 seconds of his debut to hit Israel's net. He enjoyed an excellent first season in League One and earned the attentions of Championship side Cardiff, who paid a fee believed to be around £2 million. He struggled to make an impact at the higher level. He spent the second half of the 2020-21 season on loan at Hull City, helping them to the League One title. He returned to Oxford on a season-long loan for 2021-22 before resuming his Cardiff career. He left Cardiff behind when his contract expired in 2023 and joined League One Portsmouth. After a frustrating year at Fratton Park, his contract was cancelled by mutual consent in August 2024, and he was without a club until signing for Derry City for the 2025 season. Forward Jimmy Quinn, Reading. When Quinn arrived at Reading in 1992, he was a 32-year-old journeyman striker. He had started his league career with 3rd Division Swindon 10 years earlier, having played non-league football until after his 22nd birthday. He jumped up to the 2nd Division in 1984 with Blackburn, and soon made his Northern Ireland debut, scoring in a 4-0 friendly win over Israel. He was a regular in the international team through the 1986 World Cup qualifiers, scoring the vital winner in a 1-0 win in Romania that kept qualification in Northern Ireland's own hands. Although he travelled to Mexico, injury meant he was unable to play any part. He continued to collect caps while bouncing around the lower leagues. He returned to Swindon in 1986, then played for Leicester, Bradford, West Ham, who he helped to promotion to the top flight in 1991, and Bournemouth before his £55,000 move to Reading. In the veteran stage of his career, he hit the form of his life, hitting 35 goals to finish top scorer in all leagues, as Reading won the Division 2 title in 1994. That season he also scored a spectacular goal in Northern Ireland's 1-1 draw with the Republic of Ireland, and his good form continued into the following term, as the Royals went for back-to-back promotions. His effectiveness waned after his appointment as joint player manager after Mark McGee left to take charge of Premier League Leicester City. In the end, Reading finished runners-up, but due to league restructuring there was only one automatic promotion place. With Quinn on the bench, they were leading 2-0 at half-time in the playoff final, only to be pulled back and lose in extra time to Bolton. Quinn's 119th-minute goal was merely a consolation in a 4-3 defeat. He continued as a goal-scoring player-manager until 1997, but there were relegation struggles rather than promotion pushes. In 1997-98 he scored 25 goals for Peterborough, earning a spot in the PFA's Division 3 Team of the Year. He continued to combine playing and managerial duties into his late 40s with several lower league clubs, never losing his eye for goal. Forward, Billy Hamilton, Oxford United. Hamilton played a huge part in Oxford's rise to the top flight, but injuries robbed him of his place on their biggest day. First capped while a Linfield player, he arrived in England with QPR in 1978, but it was with Burnley that he found his Football League feet and established himself in Northern Ireland's forward line for the 1980 Home Nations win and the 1982 World Cup in Spain. Shortly after his second Home Nations title win in 1984, he joined an ambitious Oxford, and his strike partnership with John Aldridge immediately fired them to the second division title and a place in the top flight for the first time in their history. Sadly, a knee injury collected in September 1985 ruled him out for most of the season, and he missed out on Oxford's Milk Cup success. He returned for the closing weeks of the campaign, just in time to convince Billy Bingham that he was ready for Mexico '86. In reality, his knee was no longer up to first division football, and after just 2 more appearances he admitted defeat at just 30. He moved into management with Limerick. He returned to the playing field and proved that the goal-scoring touch hadn't left him as he finished the 1988-89 season as the League of Ireland's top scorer. He also enjoyed success as player-manager of Distillery and managed Glenavon before leaving day-to-day football behind to concentrate on his trophy business and live on the residuals of his board game. Forward, Hugh Davey, Reading. During World War I, Davey played for the short-lived Belfast United before his goals fired Glentoran to a League and Cup double in 1921 and earned him interleague honours and a move to Blackburn. Although he failed to make an impact at Ewood Park, Davey proved his goal-scoring prowess with Division 3 South Newboys, Bournemouth and Boscombe Athletic. He joined Reading midway through the 1924-25 season, and his 26 goals fired the Royals to the Division 3 South title in 1926. That season he also won the first of 5 Ireland caps, leading the line in a 0-0 draw with England in October 1925. A year later he scored his only international goal in a 3-3 draw with the English at Anfield. Davey's good form in the second division continued, and by the end of November 1927 he'd scored 13 times, and First Division Portsmouth saw him as the man to help them pull clear of the relegation spots. His 2 goals for Pompey were just enough to avoid the drop, but not enough to secure a longer stay. He returned home to sign for Belfast Celtic. His son Con won a Northern Ireland amateur cap, and his grandson, also called Hugh, won under-21 caps and represented Down at Gaelic football. The reserves. Winger, Jimmy Burns, Reading. Reading's first Irish international, Burns made his debut a week before Billy McConnell. He had played in 2 consecutive Irish Cup finals for Glenavon and won his only cap in October 1922 against England. His 4 games for Reading came over a 2-week period in August and September 1924 before he returned home. Left back, Tony Capaldi, Oxford. Norway-born Capaldi made his name with Plymouth Argyle, playing in their 2003 Second Division title-winning side and helping them establish themselves in the Championship. An attacking left-back, he was eligible for Northern Ireland through his grandmother and played in the 2005 win over England. He is Plymouth's most capped player and played in the 2008 FA Cup final with Cardiff. He spent 2 seasons with Oxford in the twilight of his career. Forward, Ray Gaston, Oxford. Gaston made his biggest impact during his 3 spells with Bertie Peacock's Coleraine in the 1960s and 70s. He played a handful of games for the Bandsiders before joining Wolves as an 18-year-old, but he never featured in the first team and returned home after just a year at Molineux. 4 years of regular goal-scoring back with Coleraine set him up for a £12,500 move to Oxford in September 1968. He was capped within days of his arrival at the Manor Ground, coming on as a substitute for Derek Dougan in a friendly win over Israel, the same match in which Dave Sloan became Oxford's first ever international. The scoring touch deserted Gaston during his time with Oxford, and he found the net just twice in the 1968-69 season, and he spent some of the following season on loan at Lincoln before returning to Coleraine. He then played for Ballymena, Coleraine for a fourth time, and Finn Harps. Forward Phil Gray, Oxford. After starting out as a teenager with Ballyclare Comrades, Tippy Gray made a handful of appearances for Spurs between 1987 and 1991, but enjoyed his best goal-scoring years with Luton and Sunderland before trying his luck in Europe with Nancy and Fortuna Sittard. He was 32 when he joined Oxford, and it was while at the Manor Ground that he won the last 2 of his 26 caps. Midfielder Laurie Sanchez, Reading. An England schoolboy international with a Bolivian father and a Northern Irish mother, Sanchez had been on the books of Southampton as a boy before establishing himself in the Reading first team while still a teenager. He was part of the team that won the 4th Division title in 1979, although the Royals were relegated in 1983, right in the midst of the Thames Valley controversy. They did make an immediate return to the 3rd Division. Sanchez left Reading for Wimbledon in December 1984 and was part of the team that were promoted to the 1st Division in 1986 and won the FA Cup in 1988. He collected 3 Northern Ireland caps while with the Dons before finishing his league career in 1994 with Swindon. He served as manager at Sligo and Wycombe before taking charge of Northern Ireland for a memorable spell from 2004 to 2007. He has since managed Fulham, Barnet, and in Greece with Apollon Smyrnis. Winger Dave Sloan, Oxford. Sloan had won youth and amateur caps while with Bangor. He transferred to Scunthorpe in 1963 and shortly afterwards added an under-23 cap to his collection. Although he favoured playing on the right wing, his all-effort style meant he was capable across the forward line. He signed for Oxford in February 1968, starring in their Division 3 title run-in. He adapted well to the 2nd Division, earning a first full cap against Israel in September 1968, narrowly beating Ray Gaston, who came on as a sub, to the honour of becoming Oxford's first senior international. A second and final cap followed 2 years later against Spain. He finished his playing days with Walsall in 1975, settling in Scunthorpe and working in the steelworks. In 2004 it was discovered that he had never received his caps, and he was finally awarded them in a special on-pitch ceremony. Goalkeeper Luke Southwood, Reading. A product of Reading's youth setup, Southwood had won England youth caps and was backup keeper for their Under-20 World Cup win in 2017. He spent loan spells with Bath, Eastleigh and Hamilton Academical before enjoying a run in the Reading first team in 2021-22, which prompted his switch to Northern Ireland and a cap against Luxembourg in March 2022. He spent the 2022-23 season on loan with Cheltenham, making that move permanent after his Reading contract ended the summer of 2023. He joined Bolton in 2024 and remains a regular in the Northern Ireland panel. Forward Billy Simpson, Oxford. Simpson arrived at Southern League Oxford in 1960 at the tail end of his career as a prolific goalscorer with Linfield, Rangers, Stirling Albion, Partick Thistle, and Northern Ireland. Oxford had only just been renamed from Headington United, as they sought a higher profile to aid their push for league status. After just 11 appearances, he suffered a cruciate ligament injury that ended his career. Capped 12 times by Northern Ireland, injury sadly ruled him out for the duration of the 1958 World Cup in Sweden. He settled back in Glasgow, where he lived until his death in 2017 at the age of 87. Right back Sid Reid, Reading. Sid Reid played football with several Belfast-based amateur clubs before making an impact with Distillery, earning interleague honours and an £850 move to Derby County in 1929. He spent 2 years at the baseball ground before making his first-team debut. In 7 years he played just 16 games for Derby, but did win a Central League title with the reserves and 3 Ireland caps. His move to Reading in 1936 also saw him largely limited to the reserves, and after just 2 first-team appearances returned to Belfast, where he ran a sweet shop. Defender and manager, Darren Patterson, Oxford. By the time versatile defender Darren Patterson arrived at Oxford in February 2001, he had claimed 17 caps in a career that started as a youth with West Brom, followed by spells with Wigan, Crystal Palace, Luton and York. Oxford were relegated from the second division at the end of the 2002-01 season. Achilles problems limited him to just 2 games the following season, and he retired to join the club's coaching staff. He first served as caretaker manager in 2004 before an 8-day spell as permanent boss in March 2006 that ended when the club was sold. He returned to the coaching staff a year later, and again served as manager from November 2007 to November 2008. He has since coached at Bristol Rovers and Rotherham. Left back Anton Rogan, Oxford. Rogan drew attentions while at Distillery, but 2 broken legs put his career in doubt. Celtic, who had been tracking him over 2 years, finally signed him after a successful trial in 1986. He spent 5 years at Parkhead, winning Scottish League and Cup medals before transferring to Sunderland in October 1991. He played in the FA Cup final in his first season at Roker, and arrived at Oxford for a £250,000 fee in 1993. The U's suffered relegation in his first campaign, and after a year in Division 2 he moved to Millwall. Injury problems limited his impact at the Den, but he did win the last of his 18 caps while with the Lions. He finished his league career at Nigel Worthington's Blackpool in 1999. Loan signings. Arsenal's Steve Morrow spent 2 spells on loan at Reading before making his Gunners debut. Tommy Wright, who had been out injured for 2 years, joined Reading from Nottingham Forest early in the 1996-97 season, and it was while with the Royals that he put in perhaps his best international performance in a 1-1 draw with Germany in Nuremberg. Michael O'Neill, who had been struggling for game time at Coventry, joined Reading late in the 1997-98 season, as they unsuccessfully battled against relegation from the First Division. In the intro we mentioned then Second Division Reading winning the 1988 Simod Cup, aka Football League Full Members Cup. Among the Royals' 11 who defeated First Division Luton Town 4-1 at Wembley was right-back Colin Bailey. Bailey, who also won the Third Division title with Reading in 1986, played 109 games during 3 years at Elm Park between 1985 and 1988. He also played for Swindon Town and Cambridge United, but the Belfast-born Bailey was never capped at any level by Northern Ireland, though he did earn a call-up from Billy Bingham during the 1987-88 season. To recap the Fantasy Thames Valley Royals Northern Ireland all-time 11, we have: in goals, Oxford's Paul Key, a Reading full-back pair of Chris Baird and William Pat McConnell, a centre-back pairing of Reading's Barry Hunter and Oxford's Kieran Brown, a midfield trio of Oxford's Jim Magilton and Gavin White alongside Reading's Ollie Norwood, and a front three of Reading's Jimmy Quinn and Hugh Davey and Oxford's Billy Hamilton. Thank you for watching. Please visit the website at nifootball.blogspot.com, follow on X at JCDNIFG, and don't forget to like and share this video here on YouTube. Your comments are very welcome. It would be great to hear your feedback and suggestions for future videos. Please do keep your comments respectful and look out for a new video soon.